Hello everybody and welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video we're going to be doing another live build session. People seem to really enjoy these, so I thought I'd do another one. And for this one we've come down to a planet. For my builds I like to have things picturesque, so it really, really gets the juices going. We've got some planets in the distance, we've got some lovely rolling mountains, and we're going to build a starting survival rover. This is quite a simple build, but I feel like it would help people, especially newer players, just to see how I go about the process of building. I would recommend building in survival, building in creative, pardon me. If you're going to be using ships in survival, I would first build them in creative just so you can get a feel for them, and then use a projector setup to actually build them in survival. Of course you can build in survival as well, but I don't think it's always the best way to go, so I might make this a bit bigger actually. The first thing I normally do is make myself a little platform, because it just makes everything a bit easier. You can go down to an ice lake, but I just find that the ice lakes are a bit, I don't know, I don't like the look of them. I prefer to be building like this with the sun rising. So first step is obviously we need to make a small grid. So the easiest way to do that is to just get a landing gear, flip it around and drop it on down. It's worth noting I've got no idea what I'm going to do with this rover, but we'll find out. So we'll start with the chassis. That's the part underneath the rover, and I'm actually going to go with heavy armor for that because personally I tend to drive like a bit of a sausage and sometimes break a few things here and there. So I'm going to come up with a little heavy armor foundation here to put the wheels on. It does make a difference, to be fair, it does make a difference. And we're just going to keep it simple, I don't want to overcomplicate things. So we're going to have left wheels, so 3x3, yeah. Roughly there. You want it forward enough where it will absorb the bumps, but not too far forward. And then we'll have a bit of a dual setup here, I think. So like one there and one there. There you go. Something I never knew when I was building is if you look at the wheels, there's 3x3 left and right, and I was always like, what is the difference? I'll show you the difference. You see the tread patterns? See how it's like an arrow almost going forwards? That's the difference. If anyone's curious. Because I always used to just use like full left wheels and everything was fine, and I was like, right, okay, so what's the point in faffing around and stuff? But yeah, there you go. So next we're going to sort out the cockpit and the driving situation. So it could be an idea, to be fair, to use a rover cockpit. The only problem is obviously it's 2x2, but you could put two next to each other. I don't want this thing to be enormous though, so I'm going to type the forbidden word in, and I might go with an industrial cockpit. Roughly there. Now I'm putting it there because there's still a little bit of space out here. We're going to put a bumper there. If you've seen the survival series, you'll know that a bumper on the front of a rover will save you from a lot of pain. So it's highly recommended. And then let's just have a look what we could do here with cargo. I'd like to have a large cargo container on this, but I feel like it might look a bit weird. I'd also like to have a survival kit on it, because then you could do some proper exploring. So let's raise everything by 1 just for now. Because if you look at those connection points there, they line up. They line up quite nicely. And then you'll be able to reach the survival kit from the floor. I mean, could you actually... You could actually almost do that. Almost. Which would be really good, to be fair, if it wasn't so difficult to sort the piping out sort of after that. Ideally, we want that, but yeah. I would always recommend playing with the built-in conveyors. Let's see what we can do here. Let's set up symmetry. For those who don't know, some were asking, symmetry is not a mod. Hold a block and then point it at the grid so it's touching it. Press N, and symmetry will, I'll just turn mine off. Right, just so I can show you. Hold a block, look at the grid, press the M button, and then this red line will come up. If you want to change the axis, press it again. That'll go off center. Press it again, it flips the axis to the green axis, blue, etc. So we want the red axis, I want it down the middle. So then click, and then it will go a little bit more full, the colour. I don't know if you notice, it's quite hard to tell. And then press the N button to toggle it off, and then that's how you toggle it. So you set up the grid for symmetry with the M, the M button, M for Mickey Mouse, and then you toggle it with the N button. So yeah, that's how you set up symmetry. Let's see here. Might be an idea to get a large cargo container in there, because it's going to bulk up. So you might want to turn symmetry off. You see, if you've got symmetry on when you're building this, you see how it sort of does, well, that. If you turn it off, yeah, it makes it a bit easier. It just looks like it's got a big bottom. I mean, a big bottom's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that's what I want for this shit, this rover. I'm just going to be like really cheeky and just like, can we do this? Oh. 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 That might be a bit much for an early survival rover, but at the same time, it might not be. I could also put it on the top, to be fair. I'm just thinking, I want this to be quite early game, but if you're on a server and it's early game, you still need to protect yourself, right? I'm just using those conveyors because they do have a little bit more strength to them. Pop the connector up there. So this will be like an exploration rover for survival. I think it would be a good idea if it could potentially raid bases as well. So, as mad as that idea was, I think I'm actually going to do it, Let's get a sorter here. And then we'll get an autocannon turret. Just want to push it out a little bit. And this will allow you to actually defend yourself. And to be fair, I might even push it out one more. So I'm thinking, the reason I'm pushing it out is because I want to put armor around the front of the rover. Now, I'm thinking about how I'm going to build this in. Obviously, they're sticking out, but just because it looks ugly in the early stages doesn't mean it has to later on. So I'm thinking about how best I can sort of mount these guns so they look natural. If you think about it in real life, you would want a platform under the gun because it's going to be recoiling, it's going to be firing, and then we'd want to almost build it into the ship in the sense that it's going to have it's not a ship, the rover, but you know what I mean. We want to almost build it into the rover so that it looks reinforced. Now with enough symmetry, like this. So you see how that looks like it's built in. Now the back, admittedly, is more difficult, but it can be good to have a little look around at the blocks you've got available. For instance, I'd probably go, in all honesty, with a round block there. Then here, obviously there's a bit of a gap, but we want to be able to access this survival kit, which we can do from the ground. We'll be stunned in here, which is good. And And this will allow us to raid bases as well, basically. And then, if you die, you can respawn. So you can go in on foot. So what I'm going to do is place a blast door. Just grind it down a little bit here. And then you can still access the survival kit through that. But it just looks a bit more reinforced. And yeah, it's lopsided, but you know, some like it, some won't. And then we're going to reinforce these areas, or visually reinforce them, I think. How are we going to do this? That might look a bit too... I want it to be angled. I can't explain why. My brain just wants it to be angled. I feel like it's a bit easier on the eyes. Something like that. And then we're going to have a spotlight maybe. So a couple spotlights. And then let's drop it down. So let's get that round block again. Drop it down. And finish it off. In general, try not to leave hard edges like this, is my advice. Obviously it's entirely visual. It does add a bit more armour, to be fair. Just have a sip of coffee here. Oh, that's good. Wait, let me have a big one. Yeah, you see how it's just like an abrupt ending? You want to try and avoid that. The best way is just to look at how other people do it. So here's an example right now. Little 1x1 slope tip. It just makes all the difference in the world. Now, when you're building, there's going to come a time, if you're building for visuals, if you've watched this channel for a length of time, you know that we blend visuals and functionality into one. If you take a look at the top, and you were to split the craft in half, I mean, you want to do this, in all honesty, if you're building symmetrically, you don't have to worry about this side. On a rover, you don't have to worry about this side. On a ship, you do. But for now, this axis here, if you cut it in half, you see how heavy it is here, how much more stuff there is here, and it just doesn't look right to your eyes. Now obviously it's right because we've got two wheels back here to support the weight, but in terms of visual, obviously it's that shape again, which I don't want to say because YouTube will tell me off, but it's a certain shape, and we need to basically add more stuff here to balance it out. It's more philosophical, but yeah, I don't like the way that ends, so I'm going to do a... just trying to think here. How we can incorporate this nicely. Okay, so yeah, my thought process there was there's a flat block and then the spotlight, and it just doesn't blend well. You see how these blocks connect a bit better? Now the spotlight I want there, but I wanted to mount it to the ship to actually look like it works in real life, basically, is the philosophy there. So this would be its quote-unquote mount. Obviously it's not required in Space Engineers, but it just makes everything, it just makes a bit more sense to the eyes. And if you just keep thinking about how things would make sense in real life when you're building, the finished product, all these little things will add up. Because it's very easy to look at the ship and you should be like, yeah, it's a good looking ship, but I don't know why. And the thing is, you've got to add up all these little bits which make sense in the real world. And it will just naturally bring in structure and such. So, like, even just with these weapon mounts here, I mean, they aren't fantastic weapon mounts, but they do the trick. Now the next thing I'm thinking is, you know, this is an armed rover, so I'm going to have some armor, particularly around the survival kit. So the way I'm going to do that is, let me have a think. We want the barrel to be clear, so we've literally got like one block to work with here, but that's fine. because we have armor panels. We have armor panels. We have armor panels. We have armor panels. So I'm going to use heavy armor panels here. Oh no, I've done the wrong way round. I'm sorry. Can we put a block there? Don't think we can we? So these are going to have to be mounted forwards. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can tolerate that. Ideally, we'd have it there, but oh, just gonna stick out. Beam. A beam block. And then we've got this to work with. Ideally, I'd like it sort of curving. We got this block to play with. Yeah, we might as well put it there then. Keeping in mind access to the survival kit. We might not actually have access. Where's the ground level? Like roughly here. I mean, the suspension's going to collapse a little bit, so probably about here. Okay. We can grind that down, that's fine. Let's see if we can slope it in. I feel like that. No, that's too harsh of a slope. Now it looks like it's got a canopy. Yeah, I think that's too much, you know. But we do have the half blocks. If I can find them. Honestly, there are so many armor panels, right? There we go. I don't even think we want them. I think we literally just want 3. Let me just try this. And then we want a more gradual... wherever the thing is. These are very finicky to place. Something like that. I think you can tell by my silence that I'm not massively happy with it. It's not bad, but and it works, right? If we go back to where we were before, sorry to spin the mouse like that. I know people find it annoying. And we cut down the middle. You see how there's more on this side now. It just looks a bit more balanced now. Obviously, it's still quite back heavy. Those guns are over the back, but we're going to add a bumper, so all is not lost. Right, now let's think about this bumper. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's very, very hard to argue with the blast door block. They are almost invincible. But that looks ugly. That looks really ugly, actually. God, can we pretend I didn't do that? I might actually use the one without the... Oh, is there not? Something like that. Doesn't look right. See, a lot of the reason it's so hard to teach and easier to watch is because I can't explain half the stuff that's going on. It's just that just doesn't look right, and I don't know why. It needs to be horizontal, I think. Dear Lord. Okay. I might need to take a step back here. Right, hang on. Let's have a think. let's widen out the body first of all. That'll give us more room to work with. And another thing about building is you're going to build some atrocious creations, like, you know, everyone does. So, welcome it. See, in an ideal world, I just want a bumper like this because it's just simple and it just works. Oh, hang on a minute. Wait a minute. No, because it just doesn't look right on the top. Might just have to have the one. Oh, hang on, hang on. Do you know what? It is along the right lines. If I could actually wrap the cockpit. Hang on. I know this is crazy. This is radical. This is a radical movement. I feel like it works. Oh, it's a bit much though, isn't it? Let's build up the rest of the vessel because that would actually add some really decent protection. But let's build up the back a bit first. So next, obviously, we're going to want battery power. I mean, that's something, you know, that's a given. So I want to keep the batteries, if possible. Oh, no. No, 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 no. No, they idled. Ah. Oh. Why have they done that? Yeah, we want a decent amount of battery power in here. We also want armor blocks wrapping them. So I'm just going to do a preliminary. Just basic layer of armor around them like that. And at this stage, when you're applying armor, it's time to paint. Like it's time to get the paint gun out. This is a mod, by the way, the paint gun mod, because it's going to make everything so much easier. I'm going to go for red. Oh no, I painted the guns. That is a lot of red. Just give it a little stripe on the chin there. Looks decent though. And now that we've got battery power, let's just give it a quick... Oh, that could have been bad. Let's just give it a quick whirl. Just to see how it handles. Turn off damage. Oh. Hey, yo, it actually handles really nicely. I'm holding the turning circle, and this is way steeper than we're going to have the actual turning angle. And it's not rolling. The brakes are, yeah. The brakes, they do that. Okay, I'll tell you how to configure the rover so it doesn't do that later. Turn those off. Nice. That handles really nicely. Paste it back in because the turrets are facing the wrong way and it's annoying me. Okay, cool. Let's now focus on this area. So we could just give it the simple wraparound. Obviously, we want to make it work. Could just do something nice and simple like that. We want some lights. Just your standard rear lights. And then we probably just want a normal front light as well. I think I'm going to throw some batteries in there. We're going to throw a gyroscope, friendly reminder, and an antenna. Just sticking out the top like that. Because it looks kind of cool. An ore detector, if you want one, is a really good idea for a rover if you want to do a bit of scouting with it. It can really come in handy. You might want to add passenger seats if you're going to be playing, you know, with other people. I mean, it just depends on, honestly, it depends on what you're going to be doing with the rover. I can't tell you exactly, you know, everything that's going to be required, so might just add just a little bit of structure, just so it brings that area up a little bit. Ideally I want to do that as well. Looks better at the back as well when I do that. Just so it looks like these points are mounted to the central spine of the rover a bit better. I think this works, to be fair. Obviously you've got that gap there, but there's not a lot you can do about that. Unfortunately, that's just the way the cockpit is. I like to have the wheels white. Maybe the cockpit as well. Nah, it looks better grey. Right, what else do we need? Let's give her a test drive with the gyroscope. Nice. If your rover is rolling very easily, you need to lower your centre of mass or widen your wheels, so have your wheels further apart. I always like to test it vigorously because you never know how much speed you're going to pick up. So I'm literally just holding forwards and then holding the turning button just to make sure it doesn't flip. Because trust me, you're going to flip her over at some point. It's going to happen. If it's not happened, it's going to happen. But I just can't seem to flip this thing. Which means we should be alright. Just going to take it through a little bit more rough terrain. Let's take it down into this bit here. Yeah, look how horrible the ground is here. Just run it over this. Oh, bumper doing its job. Obviously we've got damage off, but see if we can get out of this. Oh, come on. To be fair, that is like vertical. Oh! Right, yeah, look at this. Look at this terrain. It's like a rock crawler. Let's go this way. Oh, there we go. He's done it. Oh, alright, okay. Thank you very much. Oh. Whoa, this terrain is horrible, isn't it? Absolutely horrible. Oh, wait, we might be stuck here. Hang on. We might actually be stuck. That just reminded me of another thing we need. There we go. If it can survive that, it can survive anything. Let's roll down this hill a little bit here. Let's give it the beans. Damn trees. Oh, that would have been such a good ramp. Nice. Okay, there are a few... Yeah, it's important to test drive because I've noticed a few tweaks that we need to make. That being one of them. Right, let's talk about setting up the wheels. So, this is personal preference. I'm just going to tell you the way I do it. Someone's going to go in the comments and say I'm wrong, but this is the way I do it. Back wheels, I turn... I'll just show you. So the first thing you want to do is name the wheels because it's going to be so much easier. There's a mod called Build Vision, which allows you to just like go into the control panel from the wheel. I can't do that, so yeah, we're gonna do this the hard way. So turn steering off. So that's left front. Turn steering back on. Steering off. Left mid, and then obviously this must be left rear. It's a bit easier if you remember the order you place them in, but I mean, yeah, a bit of a psychopath if you do that, to be fair. Right, so that's the rear one. And I'm assuming I placed them in order. So this must be right mid. Just test that theory. Yep. Nice. Okay, now that we've got them sorted, let's get the front wheels and turn off the brakes straight away. This is going to stop us doing that weird thing where the whole rover tips forward when we brake. Let me show you. See? Before it was doing like a proper like whoa, but now it's just a nice, gentle. Well, it's not that gentle. Let me find somewhere to hit the brakes. Here. There you go. And just so you know, I'm not talking crap. I'll turn the brakes on the front wheels again and just show you. If you've watched the survival series, you know the consequences of this already. Full throttle, brakes, does that, hits its nose on the ground. So yeah, and if you're going faster, you're probably going to end up doing a backflip or something. So brakes off for the front. And then in this case, for the mid, I'm going to turn off steering. So it doesn't turn quite as hard. Sometimes I like to turn off power to the front wheels as well. But yeah, I mean, for this sort of vehicle that's going to be going over all sorts of terrain, I'm going to leave it as it is. The next thing you might want to do is, I'm just going to get all the wheels, to be fair. Just add them to a group. And you can tune the top speed. So I'm going to turn that down a little bit. Probably to about 120. The height offset as well, you can make it like a bit of a low rider. This can help with if your rover's rolling. If you lower the ride height, you're going to lower the centre of mass. And it can help with rolling. But keep in mind, if you set your rover low by default, once you add stuff into the cargo container, it's going to drop even further. And you're going to be like Ramon from Cars, sliding along the ground. So just bear in mind, you may need to sort of adjust that as your load increases. I think it was fine where it was, to be fair. Strength, so that's how sort of hard the wheels bounce, how strong the suspension is. So if I put the strength all the way up, the suspension can easily carry the full weight. If I put it all the way down, it's very soft. Think of like a Rolls Royce. You see how it's just sank to the ground? Shields. So yeah, I'm going to turn up the strength probably to about 20%. Just test this. The best way to test this is when you bounce. Let's just bounce real quick. So let's say you do a jump. It's quite hard when I've turned it down. Right. You see how the wheels were quite firm? So I'd be tempted to... because you want it to absorb it. You want it to actually absorb the bumps. That's what, you know, suspension's for. Nice. You see how we didn't bounce as high? And yeah, the top speed I think is fine for now. And you can change the steering angle. I think it's fine for now. So yeah, okay. That's how I'm going to set up the wheels. And I mean, that's pretty much it for the rover. I mean, there's a few bits and bobs that I would maybe change. You could add. I mean, it's pretty simple, really. It's an early game rover. The lowering the suspension can be useful for docking as well. See my rover video. I have it in the end cards at the end of this video where I talk about design tips on building a rover. You may want to add a piston so that you can, you know, jack it up in case you damage a wheel. You may want to add a spare wheel somewhere so that you always have the components to build that other wheel. And yeah, there's numerous other things really, but in general, this is it's actually a really good rover. Look at that! Oh my god! It won't be able to take much of a hit, this thing though. I would probably add some heavy armor if I was going to use this, but in general, that's not a bad rover. I'm quite happy with that. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe to support the channel. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. And as always, take care, everybody.